And it says, if you get rid of the word gender, would you? It says. I've read a report a while back similar to this one on Sweden. It says, on just about every front today, European offers Americans a peek around the corner at our future. We seem to be taking Greece as our model on government debt, France on entrenched unemployment, and Italy and Spain on the bloated welfare state. But as we pant eagerly after the holy grail of European social democracy, we do well to pay attention to other less discussed coming attractions. One of our great national projects is eliminating the vestiges of sex differences in our families, workplaces, and elsewhere. And there's a massive move on across the US, Canada, and everywhere else to do this. There's no better place than Sweden to get a preview of what the brave new world of gender neutrality may hold. Swedish social planners are busy constructing a society that entirely erases traditional gender roles and stereotypes at even the most mundane levels, according to the online journal Slate. How mundane is prominent social democrat politicians have proposed gender-neutral public restrooms so their fellow citizens won't be forced to label themselves as men or women. You have choices now where you want to be. One local left-wing party has gone further, proposing a law requiring men to sit while urinating in office restrooms. And Sweden has added a new pronoun called hen to its online national encyclopedia, defining as a proposed gender-neutral personal pronoun instead of the he or the she. So she's a hen. That's what they're saying here. And it says, recently, the country's first gender-neutral children's book was greeting with fanfare. It replaced Mamor and Papor, mums and dads, with Mapor and Pamor, a new word that blended and confused the traditional terms. The core mission of the national curriculum in Sweden preschools is to eradicate gender roles, according to CBS News. Many preschools have hired gender pedagogues to help teachers to identify language and behavior that risk reinforcing traditional male-female behaviors. For example, at Igalia, a government-funded model preschool in Stockholm, nearly all books deal with homosexual couples. You understand, the normal couple, it's normal folk, we're all here because of couples in the past, understand, that's why we're here. If you look in nature, everything breeds out there, and there are female birds and mammals, and male ones as well, and they breed with their own kinds, and the species goes on. You understand? There's a big move to destroy certain species here, obviously. So nearly all books in the school deal with homosexual couples, single parents, or adopted children. When children are playing house and the role of the mum is already taken and they start to squabble, the writer told CBS News, we suggest 2 mums or 3 mums and so on. This year, Top Toy, one of Europe's largest toy companies, submitted to gender neutrality training after censure for sexism from Sweden's advertising ombudsman. The result is a Christmas catalogue featuring boys blow-drying a girl's hair or playing with a Barbie dream house and girls playing with gruesome action figures. See, it's role reversal, folks. You understand? Because the Frankfurt School and there's a few other schools joined them, the Macy Group as well. All the top philosophers, they're awfully well known, were part of this to give a new culture for the West, especially to the US. And they said they would have to destroy everything that created the old society. And the dad would become a lesser figure, until he was basically neutralized and wouldn't say anything if there was a dad at all. And they don't, most of them. And the women were encouraged to take the lead role, and they are now the bosses. That's happened. Mind you, all their hormones have been tinkered with too. And that's what Charles Galton said in his book, The Next Million Years. Charles Galton Darwin. And it says here, Sweden's experiment in raising sexual distinctions is likely to succeed. In the words of American commentator Christina Hoff Sommers, you can give a boy a doll, but you can't make him play with it. An Atlantic article by that name reports that American toy manufacturer Hasbro once tried to market unisex playhouses in the country. Girls kissed and dressed the dolls, but boys catapulted the doll buggy from the roof. Children's play preferences are one of the largest and most persistent differences between the sexes. David Geary, development psychologist at the University of Missouri, told Summers, boys generally like rough and tumble play, while girls tend to prefer nurturing play. Geary predicted that Swedish gender-neutral toy catalogue will almost certainly disappear in a few years once parents who buy from it realize their children don't want these toys. It doesn't matter, they keep trying to ram this through. Androgyny is what they're after, you see. The perfect fairness when you get to androgyny, where you don't know who's who is what. Mad. But they've got this method to their madness. Back with more after this. Hi folks, I'm Alan Watt, talking about the nonsense going on in Sweden. Not just Sweden, no, they're pushing this ideology across the whole world right now, big time, because it's all connected with the United Nations. It runs all the NGOs that push it. And it says, we Americans may roll our eyes at Sweden's over-the-top sexual engineering. And it is social engineering, you see. That's the whole idea of socialism, communism, ultimately, is to create the new type of human altogether. And it's all Pavlovian. They're a blank slate and they can program you. They really believe this. You see, similar moves are underway here. One of the campaigns to convince Americans that parenting is a gender-neutral activity and that the fathers and mothers are entirely interchangeable. In reality, men and women complement one another physically, socially, and emotionally in the bearing and rearing of children. Fathers, for example, tend to encourage risk-taking and independence, while mothers nurture, soothe the hurt feelings, and often have trouble letting go. But reality rarely stops ideologies. And it says in ideologues, what links Sweden and America's social planners is a shared premise that human beings are infinitely malleable, that with enough browbeating, other folk can be made to conform to their vision of the ideal society. It's no surprise then that Sweden's gender-neutral crusade, carried out in the name of liberation, ends up constricting human freedom. Exhibit A is the Swedish preschool that has ended free playtime because, as the staffer explained, when children are allowed to play as they wish, stereotypical gender patterns are born. I mean, the boys start chasing each other and tagging each other, and the girls stand and chat somewhere else. It says, Slate sums it up this way. Ironically, in the effort to free Swedish children from so-called normative behavior, gender-neutral proponents are subjecting them to a whole set of new rules and new norms as certain forms of play become taboo. Language becomes regulated and children's interactions and attitudes are closely observed by teachers. It's just like Orwell's 1984, where they start changing the vocabulary. They even changed the dictionary in 1984 and minimized the words they could use until certain words just disappeared and you had nothing to express yourself by when you have no words. It's the same agenda ongoing, folks. And they've got power. They've got power, these nutcases, these maniacs that want power. They have it. And of course, they're also bringing in plans across Europe and elsewhere to just because they started this off in Holland years ago, where they paid the men to stay at home, look after the babies, and the women went off to work. Well, they're trying to start that whole thing across the whole of Europe now, to again change the idea of what a man will think of as himself, basically. So, social engineering big time. And don't forget for a minute that Obama has read on with all this kind of idealism too. No doubt about it at all.